I was selling it to other inmates. I try not to ask my family for support because they have their own bills. I put myself here, so they shouldn't have to take money out of their pockets to send me money. So I would take the pruno, I would make it and sell it to try to have stuff in my locker.
So help me out when I'm looking it up. So you weren't working in the facility?
I started in medical, and when I first came in, and like you'll see, I have a ticket because I was taking pills out of the garbage as another way to support myself, and I got a ticket for that. And I lost my job, and
Okay, we are about to see a Connecticut parole hearing of a man who seems to be in denial or seems to think that he can just trick the parole board. Oh, yeah, no, I was only making the pruno to sell it. I was only taking the stuff out of the garbage to sell it, not because I have a long history of substance abuse. And we will go over that history at the end. It is mind-boggling. But what's more mind-boggling to me is always when someone shows up to the parole hearing and can still be in denial. But anyways, there is an interesting twist to this parole hearing, so you got to wait for it till the end. And with that, let's jump in.
Daniel Meyer, 373715.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Daniel Meyer, inmate number 373715. He is serving a sentence of 8 years executed, suspended after 4 years jail with 3 years probation for 4 counts of burglary third, 2 counts of larceny third, possession of a controlled substance, larceny first, and risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of October 9, 2023. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the Voices program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on SRT falls within the high range of risk for recidivist. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Before I came to jail, I was doing a lot of stupid stuff to support a drug habit. That's what a lot of my crimes are based on, is supporting a drug habit and trying to pay the bills to get by. When I came to jail, I pretty much continued the same thing for a year and a half, doing a stupid thing. I caught 6 tickets for pretty much contraband and the Chica tampering on safety and security. About 6 months ago, when I got sentenced, I finally figured out it's time to cut out the stupid shit. There's stupid stuff, pardon my language, and I've been working on myself for the past 6 months. I started talking to my sponsor again. I started methadone again a couple weeks ago because I was clean for 4 years before this. It helps me stay on track. I'm doing my step work once again, and I'm just trying to get back out to help my mom. She's 62. My father passed right before I came in here, and it's part of the reason why I relapsed and started doing all the crimes I did, because my drug habit was more important than anything.
Okay, I appreciate your opening statement, Mr. Meyer. You know, I every time I hear you young people talk like 60 is old, it just your mother still has a whole bunch of life left to live, so don't count her out just yet. But nonetheless, so what will happen here is each of us will take an opportunity to ask you some questions. When we are done with our questions, we will deliberate and give you our decision, okay?
Okay.
Best of luck to you, sir. Mr. Dargan will start with the questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. How are you?
So it looks like the majority of your convictions were related to your drug addiction. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Besides the risk of injury. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that said, you talked briefly about some of your DR reports, right? And I also read that one of them, you were making pruno to support yourself. So were you selling it to other inmates, or were you drinking it?
No.
Or what were you doing?
I was selling it to other inmates. I try not to ask my family for support because they have their own bills. I put myself here, so they shouldn't have to take money out of their pockets to send me money. So I would take the pruno, I would make it and sell it to try to have stuff in my locker.
So help me out without looking it up. So you weren't working in the facility?
I started in medical, and when I first came in, and like you'll see, I have a ticket because I was taking pills out of the garbage as another way to support myself. And I got a ticket for that, and I lost my job. And
so back to the pruno. So your family wasn't putting any money on the books or whatever. So is that what you need?
They do what they can. They do the best they can. It's not every month. Maybe it's every 3 or 4 months, but.
Okay. So now I kind of, I understand the background of it a little bit. So what do we deal with your substance abuse? Because it looked like your issues were primarily heroin and crack cocaine.
Yeah. Before this, I was 4 years clean. I was working a good job. That job is I still have the opportunity to return. But when my father got sick, I really didn't know how to deal with it. Seeing my dad, he had Alzheimer's. He was forgetting who I was. He was forgetting how to do things. So to self-medicate and take my mind off that things I started to use. But before that, I was clean for 4 years. I was going to meetings every day. I mean, I was on methadone, getting take-homes 2 weeks at a time. I was with a sponsor. I had a grand sponsor. I have a sober community that I was really part of before I relapsed.
Okay, so it looked like back in 2006, you started using oxycodone and.
Yeah, that was like the cool thing to do in high school. That was what the in crowd was doing.
So how long have you been sober? Even though you were making pruno, I assume maybe you were drinking some of the pruno. You didn't? Oh, okay.
2.5. I've been clean since the day I came in here. Other than methadone that I get from the facility, I have been clean the whole time.
If you are an alcoholic or were an alcoholic, you are an alcoholic today.
Because I never heard too many people making pruno and then selling it in the facility.
Disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. You never heard that? About people making it because they don't have jobs and stuff?
No, I know they make it, but I didn't know that it was like a resale market, that big of a resale market.
It is.
Yeah.
Very high resale market.
Yeah. Well, wow. I mean, maybe if you get the drug addiction under place, you could go work for a distillery when you come out, right?
Start my own distillery.
Yeah. So, what is your game plan when you are released?
Well, right now, if I was to make parole, I could go to my mother's house, but I don't want to do that. I chose this a halfway house, so I go to the halfway house, still have some structure, still being supervised, and so I start IOP, downgrade to relapse prevention, slowly get a job, and start saving money to get my own place and get my life back in track.
Okay. And I also see within your criminal convictions that you got an ongoing protective order in place, right?
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend.
Right. And your game plan, where do you want to sponsor to? Halfway house?
Yeah.
Okay. And then for recovery or staying drug, alcohol free, what's your game plan there?
I'm like I said, I'm still in contact with my sponsor. I'm going to start going to meetings again. They just started meetings again here at Osborne, so I signed up for that. But if I was released, go to meetings, out, relapse prevention, IOP, get back in contact with my support system, my sponsor, and start working the steps again.
Okay, so how long were you clean in the past?
Before this, 4 years. That's my longest stretch of clean
Say
time.
that again, what was that?
4 years was the longest stretch.
Okay. So what happened that you relapsed?
My father got sick, and I used that as a way of not knowing how to really cope with seeing my father, not know who I was, not know how to take care of himself as a opportunity to get high.
Got it. So do you think you have better coping skills in place so you don't relapse again?
Yeah, I've always had the coping skills. I think in the back of my mind, I always had that thought or urge to want to use, and that was just the thought. That was just the opportunity for me to take an opportunity of using.
All right. Well, thank you for answering my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Dargan. You know, Mr. Meyer, you were using a lot of drugs. I'm really surprised that you're still alive, like.
Me too.
Ms. Parole?
And just to follow up on that, I'm looking at the amount of drugs, because I'm looking at how many felony convictions you have. And the majority of them is for stealing copper wire. So I'm thinking to myself, you must get a good amount of money for the amount of copper wire you were stealing.
Yeah, that's for not what I got caught. That's just for what I got caught with too. So.
Okay. And stolen U-Haul and stolen U-Haul. And I'm just thinking too, the harm to these companies that you were stealing from.
Yeah, I didn't like. That's what the Voices program really brought to my attention, and IPO Bernard. I really didn't think about. I knew it was doing to what it was doing to the company, but I didn't think what it was doing to the company's customers and all that stuff too.
We all pay for that.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if you lost power and I robbed this company and they didn't have the supplies to put your power back on, you could have been without power even longer.
Days, weeks for some poor people.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Myers, you mentioned a couple of times you had this 4-year period where you were able to be sober.
Yeah.
So, where was your meeting? Where were you going to home group?
Waterbury, but my main group was in Torrington. That was my home group, Torrington.
Okay. And who were you living with during that time?
My mother and my father.
And your plan is to go to a halfway house, go to IOP meetings, and work. Anything else you think that might be helpful?
I mean, I don't have a GED, so I want to get it. I've been putting it off, get back in school, get that, and maybe get into like college class for being a drug counselor. I've always been told that I'm very good at being like helping other addicts.
Or even a trade?
Yeah, because I was a supervisor at the place I was working in Global Steering Systems in Watertown, and like I said, I still had the opportunity to return there.
Well, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Pomeroy. So, Mr. Meyer, I have no additional questions for you. We're going to did we I know that you're in the MAP program, but where do you fall on the tier, participating in a tier program?
I wrote her. They never responded. I have a general referral to addiction services. I wrote and I asked them about why my level was a 5. They answered that, and I said I have a referral, but they never responded to that.
So, do you think that you're getting the DRs is also putting you further back on the list, or?
I don't think, because when I came in here, they started me at Voices within the month that I came here.
Right, but everybody in there doesn't really need the Voices program. Most people in there are addicts, so.
It could be.
Yeah, okay, all right, give us a few minutes to talk about kids. All right, Mr. Dargan.
So Mr. Myers has somewhat of an extensive drug history, right? I mean, that's
It's
a
2009.
given. He's completed voices, he's done the medicated assisted program. What was concerning to me is the DRs that he received and then making the criminal and caught. He talked about his 4 years of being drug free. Reading all the information that's prepared for us, and with a drug alcohol score of a 5, I had him denied. The only question I had is, you're going to end the sentence, or there's an opportunity to bring him back? And that's just where my thought process is right now.
Thank you, Mr. Gargan. Oh, Mary.
It was of the same thinking that it's a lot of felony charges. There's a lot of money involved in what was stolen to support his drug habit. I am concerned about the 6 disciplinary reports. I appreciate that kind of money on his books, but I'm sure there's a lot of other individuals that's not the route that they take as well. He scores highs. He's got a drug score of 5. So I am a denial for today. However, I would not be opposed to bringing Mr. Meyer back for a rehear and see if he couldn't do a tier program. I appreciate that he's in the MAP program. I appreciate that he's had a lot of treatment in the community, but he's at another place in his addiction life. So I
Not only that, I really think that he could really use a refresher course because, unfortunately, death and illnesses are a part of our lives, stress, all that stuff. And perhaps he could gain some additional tools from participating, completing another program. You never can have too much education, but I would have him come back as well. And no more tickets. He can't sell any more Chrono. We're done with that.
I'd say put some more time too between the last DR.
Yeah.
And his release.
So when's the end of sentence? July 25,
Yeah.
somewhere around there,
To go.
Yeah, he has a ways to go.
or October, whatever.
I would, his last ticket was in June.
They all seem to be in 23, I think.
There's-
And 22?
He had a few. But so I would do, if we wanted to give him a year, it would be, I would do July 1st of this year. And that's still a gift. Is that enough time?
Oh, so give him a year out.
Are you-
To end
Yes.
the
Are
sentence.
you saying 6 months from now, bring them back?
That give him enough, if he were to get the tier 4, then give him enough time to even do the tier 4.
It wouldn't. I don't know if he would get the tier 4 though. And then we can't even say that we want him to take the tier
No.
4 because, and then if he,
Right, we just say clear for
I think
year
6
free.
months is a gift. I think it's a
Very
gift.
much a gift.
To put,
do you
gives him
want,
a year from that last disciplinary report and an opportunity to do not just the TIP program, but even some maybe work on his cheat.
so, right, so, we can do, should he be, we don't want to stifle him either, so that if they do want to put him in a tier 4 program, they don't have enough time, you know what I mean? So maybe
You
if
want
we
to
do
push it out?
9 months.
September or
Yeah, maybe
October?
September, just to, just so that they don't feel,
Yeah,
uh,
that makes more sense.
no, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do
Tier
9 and
DR
24,
free.
yep, a tier.
Positive.
And the reason for denial will be a lack of program participation and inadequate evidence of offender change and or institutional adjustment with the DRs.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so with regard to Daniel Meyer, 373715, there's a motion to deny his request for discretionary parole today based on his poor institutional adjustment. Looks like he received 6 disciplinary infractions as incarceration, and he has not completed an addiction services program, so his inadequate program participation and inadequate evidence of offender change I further move to rehear Mr. Meyer in September of 2024, at which time he should have successfully completed a tier program and also any other positive programs, and no more DRs, no more selling criminal. Is there a second?
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so Mr. Meyer, we're gonna give you another opportunity to come back before us, and we really do hope that you can get some additional treatment, work on your GED, get to work, get a routine,
Okay.
other than sitting in there and doing nothing, and come back and see us in September, okay?
Okay,
Good luck to you, sir.
thank you. Have a good one.
This concludes the hearing for Daniel Meyer, inmate 737.
Okay, and September of 2024, well, it rolled around quick, and we're going to see that follow-up parole hearing. So remember, the one we just saw was January 9, 2024, and the one we're about to see is September 20th, 24. And thank you, Sir Richard, for having these spreadsheets that make it easy and possible to do these follow-up parole hearings. If you want to see more of these follow-ups, make sure to check the playlist below for the return of playlist. Now, do you think that he's checked all the boxes? Do you think that he's been successful enough to get released? Let's find out.
Daniel Meyer, 373715.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Daniel Myers, 373715. He is serving a sentence of 8 years, execution suspended after 4 years, for 3 years of probation to home, for 4 counts of burglary third, 2 counts of larceny third, risk of injury, larceny first, and possession of controlled substance. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of 9/7/23 at 50%. There's no victim input in this case. The inmate was heard by the board on January 12th, 2024. He was denied parole, and a new hearing date was set for September 2024. The board recommended that the inmate complete a tier program, participate in any additional positive programming, and refrain from obtaining any new DRs. Since his last hearing, the offender has completed the following programs. He's maintained employment, however, he has not completed the additional program by the board. Utilizing the statewide collaborative risk evaluation system scores, the offender overall score for recidivate falls within the high range. Mr. Meyer, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I know I was supposed to do a tier program, and I was trying to get in there. I didn't know my score was a 5. I was trying to get it redetermined because I had no problem doing tier 2, tier 3, but the tier 4 program, I've done so many programs, and I just don't agree with the way that program is run. I don't mind going to a program, doing IOP on the street, doing any of that. I have a strong support system. I have a sponsor. I was going to meetings before I came in here. I just took my father's death hard, and instead of doing the right things, I went to self-medication instead of dealing with the problems.
You are trash, Lindsay. You are trash.
Well, Mr. Myers, I certainly appreciate your opening comments. The panel did ask you to do something specific. And despite whether you like how the program runs, you have to abide by the request of the board.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we're each going to take turn to ask you questions, and I'm going to ask Ms. Page to begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Myers, I was on your hearing in January of this year, and it's my understanding that as soon as you walked out of the hearing room, you knew that you weren't going to take a tier program, and you wanted to waive the rehear. Is that right?
No, I was gonna waive it for halfway house possibility, but I have no problem doing tier 4, tier 2.
That's not what I read. That's not what I read, Mr. Meyer.
I
read that I can pull up the document that you sent in request. You told the officer that you did not want to complete the treatment, and that you were just going to go for the halfway house. And then they told you,
I
Okay,
said I would not do tier 4. Yes, I said I would not do tier 4
so why didn't you do a tier 2 then?
because they will not let me because my drug score is a 5.
So you rather have no treatment and come back before the board than get
I go
some
to-
treatment?
I'm on methadone. I go to the methadone classes. I mean, I
Right,
already
and that's still
taken-
not treatment, that's not
Yeah.
treatment, but in my opinion.
Yeah, but
And
in here,
it's my understanding that you were doing the methadone program when you were out in the community before.
yeah, I was 5 years clean when I was on that.
But so 5 years clean.
Yep, 2016 or 4 years, 2016 to 2020.
2016 to okay, that looks about right. Okay. Unfortunately, sir, when you did go on your downward spiral, it was really serious.
Very
And
drastic.
the disciplinary infractions that you received even after we when you got in the prison were all concerning. Like you're cheeking your methadone medication for what?
I didn't have any outside support, so I was selling it. I'm not gonna lie about it. I was selling it. I was doing stupid things when I first came into prison, and I am disappointed in them now, and I look back and wish I could have done something different. That's why I've been doing what I've been doing for the past over a year and staying ticket free and working in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, that I know that you think that this is the things that are supposed to go the way that you yeah, but we set up we don't want you to go out to fail, Mr. Meyer. And that's why we asked you to participate in the tier program. And unfortunately, based on the information that I've reviewed in preparation for today, coupled with the nature of your disciplinary infractions, be that as it may, they were a year ago, but they still display the same kind of behaviors. You don't have the best track record of being compliant when you're out in the community. You have 3 failed out of 4 tries. And you rate high at 36 years old for as a risk to recidivate. I just don't see you as a suitable candidate for discretionary
understand.
parole, sir.
I understand.
So-
I already came in here figuring that,
Well-
so.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I don't have any questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. I don't have any questions either. I know, Mr. Myers had indicated that his longest clean time, I do have 4 years. He has been in, your opening statement, you said you can go out and go into treatment programs. But
Yeah.
there are quite a few other treatment programs that you have participated in previously.
And they
here
were all
we are
completed
again.
successfully. They were all done successfully.
So, but here we are today.
Yep.
So I
do not have him voted to discretionary parole, Madam Chair. Inadequate evidence of offender change and lack of program participation are my reasons.
okay.
I mean, you can couple that with his criminal history that is extensive.
So I just did the criminal history and inadequate institutional program and evidence of offender change.
Yes.
Okay. In the case of Daniel Francis Meyer, inmate number 373715, there's motion to deny discretionary parole due to criminal history, inadequate institutional program participation, and evidence of offender change. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Mr. Myers, we hope that you'll do something. Okay.
This concludes the hearing for Daniel Myers, 373715.
Great decision.
No parole for tape.
Okay,
No parole for tape.
so
No parole for tape. None.
Okay.
Mr. Tate is not getting parole.
Because of anger issues. How many of you finished the sentence? If you did, you're probably a Mandalorian. And if you haven't seen the No Parole for Tate's parole hearing yet, I don't know how that'd be possible. But if you haven't, just check it in the Connecticut playlist. And now this is a classic example. I mean, really, of just leading the horse to water. He had one job, take the program. And he literally shows up and said, I didn't need it. I did it. Well, like, what? He looks like he's still, on some of that Pruno, really. I mean, like, he just rolled out of bed. And I don't know what it is that make people want to do this, but it's just, it's so important to see this for those who say who just might be solving about incarceration, about this, about, oh, we need to have better systems. Well, not everyone fits into that system. There are people that do, and I agree we need a better system, but there are some people that I don't think it can fix. And the amount of crimes that he has, Sir Richard has in the spreadsheet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 published articles of arrests. And that's a lot, because oftentimes arrests happen and they don't get published, but these are 14 published arrests, and they're all for the type of crime that fits into him feeding his thing. And the idea is like, oh yeah, I was only making Pruno to sell it. I was only doing the pills to sell it. It's like, dude, you haven't even crossed the first line yet of accepting that you have a problem. He's still not there, and he won't even take a program to get there. And there's something off. I mean, you can't fix that. He will not be fixed. And it's, you might say it's sad. His full term date is June 2025. So he's getting out in 5 months at the time of this recording. And it can be dangerous. He's going to get out, and the stuff is out there. It's pretty. But let me just read to you some of his things. So, oh my God, arrested, and the dates kind of bounce around the place. But 8/12/2009. He has the classic stuff: forgery, larceny. He has 6/30/2014 possession of narcotics. He has, well, we'll just keep going down the list. 3/25/2015 larceny. Burglary 2015, 1/18/2017 burglary, 7/29/2021 larceny, 7/10/2020 larceny and burglary. It's a classic stuff. It's 11/14. I do believe that he did find that moment of sobriety for like 4 years. Is that what he said? I do believe it, because his record kind of like goes in a gap, and it's interesting though how he thinks that he can be a coach. Right, that's what he mentioned before. I think that's what he said. And man, I don't know. Is it ego? It's immaturity. There's something off, and it's not cute anymore. It gets to a certain point where you're just too old for this, man. You probably stopped being cute 30 years ago. It was almost like you could see him in his room throwing a tantrum, the same behavior. But anyways, they denied he will be getting out soon. And I don't know, does he have special parole? I'm trying to think. It might be a while till we see him, because I don't think he does. I don't think he does. So let me just double check. But again, thank you, Sir Richard, for pulling up this in spreadsheet so I can connect the dots. And yeah, it's a flat sentence. And because that's how we're able to do it in the spreadsheet. So make sure that you check out the playlist, The Return Of. There are many, 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 many that we can cover. So let me know in the comment section if you want me to. It always takes a little bit more work on my part. I got to go into my database. I got to go into the hard drive, pull out the hearings, glue them together, listen to them again. So let me know. It helps. And with that, I'll let you go.
So how long have you been sober? Even though you were making Pruno, I assume maybe you were drinking some of the Pruno you didn't. Oh, okay.
2.5. I've been clean since the day I came in here. Other than methadone that I get from the facility, I have been clean the whole time.
If you are an alcoholic or were an alcoholic, you are an alcoholic today.